It's Thursday, October 12th, 2017. It's time for WorthPoint Chats with Harry Rinker. I'm Greg Watkins from WorthPoint.com, and it's time for our weekly conversation with Harry Rinker, our expert in all things antiques and collectibles. And how are you doing tonight, Harry?
I'm in a nostalgic mood tonight.
Oh, and why is that?
Well, I was this past weekend, the Moth Radio Hour. That's one of those shows on NPR. People ask me why I listen to NPR, and I tell them I need to know how the opposition thinks. But other than that, they have this Moth Radio Hour where people tell stories, and I like to tell stories, obviously, or we wouldn't be doing this silly video week after week after week. And so it's all about stories. So they had this woman that talked about going back home and having to clean up our house after her mother. Her mother was a pack rat or saver of things, right?
Right.
And the mother had saved and saved and saved stuff. I mean, she did. And the daughter involved leaves home and lives in Berkeley. The mother dies. The daughter's 25, and the mother dies. And so she goes home to her house that she'd lived in all her life, right? I just wonder. Somebody said today, how many of us have a home where we lived in from the time we were born until the time we were in our mid-20s and 30s? I didn't, although I lived most of my life in a home in 51 West Depot Street in Ellertown, PA. But anyway, so she goes back home, and her mother had enough shit to do everything. So at Christmas time, they had trees in every room, and they were decorated differently. And so she went home a year after her mother died and set up trees around the house. And she and her dad and the relatives got together and had a meal, and it was okay. And the father did something. He decided he'd sell the house. His wife has died, the kid had moved out, big house, right?
Yeah.
So this was a bit of a shock to her. I think it's a shock every time somebody has to clean out a house for the first time. I mean, I know there are people that move regularly, and I have a list of all the places I've lived at. I'm almost up to 10 different places at this point in my lifetime. You have to pack up and move and pack up and move and pack up and move. So you get kind of used to it. Forget the Army brats that moved every 9 months, but she goes back home. And it's one thing to go back home and have a holiday and get everything ready, but it's another thing to go back home knowing you got to get rid of everything, right?
Yes.
So she's got to go home and help her dad get rid of everything. And she walks in the house, and within 5 minutes, she's caught up in the nostalgia of all the stuff. Right?
Yes, I can understand that.
So she makes this statement. Nostalgia is the enemy of all, wait a minute here, I have to get this right. Of all successful cleaning expeditions, she says. Nostalgia.
That makes sense.
No, it doesn't make sense.
I can understand where she's coming from.
It's full of crap. Now, look. Now, while nostalgia may be the problem of all cleaning expeditions, and nostalgia is not the enemy. Clearly, the enemy, because where would this industry be if we didn't have nostalgia as a driving force? Nostalgia is an interesting thing. Nostalgia, there's many types of nostalgia. There's a nostalgia for the things that you grew up with, right?
Yes.
Then there's a nostalgia for the era you grew up in.
Yes.
Then there's nostalgia for all the shit your parents should have bought you because you deserved it, but they didn't.
Okay.
Which may be why a lot of collectors save stuff, Yes. I remember when I finally got some of my Hoppy stuff and said, my parents should have bought that for me. Okay, but they didn't. Anyway, all right. But there's also nostalgia preserves the past. There's no past without nostalgia. I mean, historical fact is one thing, and objects can be inanimate, I suppose, but they're not. They're really part of preserving the past and preserving nostalgia. So anyway, the woman goes on, this woman that did this thing, her name was Morgan. Now, yeah, I have to say something about that. I have a cousin, Morgan. He's a male. When I went to high school, there were no Morgans that were women. Now you have Morgans and all. I can't tell from a person's first name what sex they are anymore.
No. And
Speaking of a nostalgic comment,
yes, yes. And you know where that the
teacher
trend of naming girls with traditional last names, I think, started with Murphy Brown.
well, whatever they started with, but anyway, this is a woman, Morgan Zipfmeister.
Oh, nice.
And a hyphenated name.
Well, she needed a name that you could pronounce as a good first name.
Yes, ZIPF is. How would you like to be a Ziff? I mean, come on here. I mean, I just become Morgan Meister, but we won't go there. So Morgan claims that there was a closet, everything in her house. Her mother had this closet in her bedroom where if something disappeared, the mother would say, "Did you look in the closet?" And the kid said, "Why should I look in the closet?" And every time she opened the closet door, there was all the missing stuff. Okay?
Okay.
But the closet held the family photographs. And she got suckered in for a minute. She went in there and she found the family photographs of her birthday parties and holiday parties. And the mother was a big holiday freak. Now, that she thinks that was bad or unusual. If you grew up in the 50s, you celebrated all the holidays. And you had table decorations for every different holiday. Hallmark made these weird folding things that fit on the table. I mean, we're not just, we're talking about St. Patrick's Day and Columbus Day and 4th of July and
oh yeah, the honeycomb tissue paper things that would fold out and
a whole bunch of other holiday stuff. And minor holidays. I mean, Memorial Day, that was a biggie, man. I had to dress up in my winter band uniform and trot my rear end down the main street and then we'd have to go down to the cemetery where the orators would, do their shtick in Flanders Field where poppy grows beneath the crosses, row and rows, and someone decided the Gettysburg Address of the 4th of July and all the rest of that stuff. Fortunately, I never won those contests in school, so I didn't have to do it. But anyway, it's all very nostalgic, right?
Yeah.
So she goes in there and she gets tied up with the family photos. Then she gets mad at herself because she's done that. But now here you go. She finds a box and she opens it up, and in there are old cards. But what she realizes is that her mother had saved every card from her first birthday to the last birthday that they exchanged with each other and the parents. Okay?
Yeah.
So she opens one card. It's her first birthday card, and inside are pennies from her birth year. Remember these? Now, you're too old. You're too young to remember this, but back then, cards you'd put pennies in from your birth year. Or
yeah, no, I remember those.
For your birth year, right?
Yeah.
And she goes through all of this, and she doesn't understand the meaning of the box. She doesn't understand why would her mother save all this if she could care less, which I think says it all about young people today. But we won't go there. But anyway, so she starts ripping the cards up, and then her dad walks in. And her dad sees one card and says, "Oh, what's that?" She says, "Well, it's my birthday card from next year." And Dad says, "You know what? I threw that out. I remember throwing that out." I mean, the mother would go around in the garbage cans after her birthday and scarf up any cards that got thrown, save them, right? Now, I have to tell you this. If I would have found a box, I don't have to worry about finding a box like that for my own, because I've got a file drawer over here with one of them in it anyway. My album with my first and second, third birthday cards and all the rest of that type of stuff. And I didn't throw them out. But this woman threw them out. And she says, "I don't understand my mother. What about memories?" And it got me to thinking that, you keep looking about why do we have so many problems in the current antique and collectibles field with selling stuff and whatever. And you know what? If you don't care about the memories of your past, we're in trouble. So the end result of all of this is she talks about driving home and what's in the car but one box of Christmas ornaments and the card with the pennies in it, and she threw everything else out. Now, okay, so now here she is, 25, or 6 or 27, however old she is. She probably doesn't have kids. Maybe married, but she doesn't have kids, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe she does, for all I know. When those kids grow up and they say, tell us about your parents, what's she going to tell them? What's she going to show them? What kind of memories is she going to have to bond those kids to her past? The answer is none. And when we want to walk, it's not like it's the family breaking down. It's the fact that if you have no links to the past, and objects are the greatest link of all, then the past gets lost. You say, okay, well, this is it's an individual's past. What difference does it make? Well, I don't want to be forgotten. And rest assured, I am taking a lot of steps to make sure I don't, not the least of which is my tombstone, which will not be a normal tombstone. I told you what I'm doing on my tombstone, right?
No, you have not shared that with us.
Oh, I have not? Oh, well, do you know what my license plate is? You got to do this.
All right, let me write this down.
Write this down. Get this down. This is all capital letters. All right?
Well, okay, license plate, right?
License plate. N-O-I-T-A-L. Okay, that's in honor of my first two wives. Okay.
N-O-I-E-A.
No, N-O-I-T-A-L.
Oh, T. T, not L. Yeah. Okay.
N-O-I-T-A-L.
Well, I've heard your stories about your first wife, so I know what this means.
All right. Well, my first wife was Italian.
Right.
So you could interpret that license plate as no Italian. But when my second wife, or in the course of a bitter argument, there on my desk was a vanity license plate application.
I see the other meaning here.
And she said, you effing know-it-all. And I said, that's my license plate. Now, not only did I get that in Pennsylvania, but when I moved to Michigan, nobody else had it here either. So my Michigan license plate reads know-it-all too. Well, anyway.
I may have to look and see if Georgia's got it available.
Back when, yes, well, I wanted to get stupid for my first wife, but that didn't work. But anyway, but the thing about it was that the only reason there's not an F in front of it is that Pennsylvania at the time only had 6 letters on the plate. Now you could get 7. So if I ever move back to Pennsylvania, I'm going to try for the big winner here, assuming that somebody in the office doesn't get it. So my license plate reads know-it-all, which I thought was a good license plate for me, right? I mean, anybody who's been watching these videos would understand why my license plate reads that, right?
That's right.
So what I decided, well, we're getting very sidetracked here, but this is a lot of fun to talk about this type of thing. I always wanted to become the president of the Frog Collectors Club, where there was the Frog Collectors Club, because the president was called the Chief Croaker. And I thought that would look really great on the tombstone. He was the Chief Croaker, right?
Right.
However, that aside, I have made arrangements that when I pass away, that the tombstone where I am buried will have this. It will have a picture of my license plate on it. And on top of it will be this cut line. Its license plate said it all.
and you're hoping to have the F in from the Florida.
No. I have to be very careful because I am among the first class of distinguished alumni honorees of the local high school, which borders up against the cemetery. So I have to be a little careful.
So you can't have F and know-it-all?
What I really was hoping for is if I have that kind of tombstone, when they do the cemetery tours at Halloween, you know, where they reenact the local yokels.
Yes.
There's no way they can avoid me.
This is true.
My memory will live on.
So that's your plan.
Well, that's one of my many plans. That's not the only plan. No, there are other subtle things I'm cooking up too. Okay, right. But that's good enough. But this kind of nostalgia for home. What happened was it caused me to, when she commented that she lived in the house all her life and then had to leave it. I started thinking about the homes where I lived, and we had a home in Dundalk, Maryland. I was born down in Baltimore, and my parents lived in Dundalk. And I have vague. We were 5 when we moved back up to Pennsylvania. I have vague memories of that. But we moved in with my grandparents at 717 High Street, and then we moved to Ellertown to 51 West Depot Street. I have actually gone back and knocked at the door several times at those homes, those 2 homes, to ask if I could go through again, just to see if the people are taking good care of them. No, you have to call them first to make sure they clean up for you before you just go romp it through that. Although I have to tell you, when I was in York, PA, and director of the Historical Society of York County, there were a lot of great old townhouses in York, federal era townhouses and so forth. And I like to go visit them. And so at lunchtime, I would just get a couple of guys on the staff, and I'd go knock on the door and say, we're from the Historical Society Inspection Committee. We're looking at houses here in the area. We'd like to come and look at yours. Nobody ever turned us away. Just whomp in the house and in you go. But anyway.
Interesting.
But, I wouldn't mind going back and seeing my grandfather's house at the top of Depot Street, the old Noble Homestead home. I'm not sure when I go to York and see my home on Springersbury Avenue, so that part's all right. And I don't particularly want to go back to Drury Lane, although you should. I always thought it was neat if you lived on some literary street when I was in Bethlehem. That was a house with not as many happy memories as I would like. But, it's all about the nostalgia. But I finally got my wife. Last time I was east, out on a cemetery tour. Took the wife out and showed her where her relatives were buried. Did the son want to go along? No. Did the grandchild want to go along? No. So, but at least if something happens to me, she'll know where they are. And when she dies, well, that's the end of that family. But nostalgia, there's nothing wrong with nostalgia. In fact, I think more than half, I'm almost sure 75 to 80% of collectors are nostalgia focused. That whatever they started collecting, it was nostalgia driven. Now I have to say something to you about this. I like the NFL protests which you may wonder how I'm jumping around on all this stuff.
Yeah, that was a pretty wide jump right there.
Where do you see where this one goes?
Okay.
Anyway, I like the NFL protests because a lot of this fan base that doesn't like the fact of this kneeling business are out burning their stuff. There was a big story about a guy in Pittsburgh that burned like a 30-year collection of Steelers memorabilia, which if I was a Steelers collector, I would say, that's great, man. My collection just went up in value, right?
Right.
And I'm thinking of burning my Boy Scout stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yes, right, because the Boy Scouts have done the unthinkable.
Yeah, they can let girls in.
Well, they actually had let girls into the Explorer program earlier.
Yes.
And I dropped out of Boy Scouts when they were asking Scoutmasters to do bed checks, not looking for other girls to the bed, but you know what? And that was, I said, that I am not that kind of social policeman. So that was the end of that. But no, it's like Lehigh. I love my university. But ever since they've admitted women, I don't love it as much. It's a strange thing to say, especially in this day and age.
That's right.
But that's nostalgia for you. Anyway, well,
okay.
That's a long-winded expose on nostalgia. And
yes,
speaking,
how did we start this conversation that you like telling stories?
Hold on, watch this lead. Watch where we're going with this one. Speaking of nostalgia, we have a few objects that people.
Oh, yes, we do have a couple of objects on here.
What objects are we looking at first?
Well, which one do you want?
No, it's your call.
My call. Well, you sent me some pictures of a lamp.
Yes, that's a good one.
All right, so let's get this lamp.
Right. We're going to get this lamp up. Came in from one of our viewers.
It's a floor lamp.
It's a floor lamp. Now, first of all, we had a lamp not unlike this in my home in Hellertown as a kid growing up. They date usually from the 1930s and 40s, but my parents were married in the 30s, and the lamp came along with the move. A lot of them had parchment shades on them. This particular one, but these were reading lamps. These sat beside the easy chair right behind the smoking table, which your parents smoked, your father smoked, and cluttered up the whole house, right?
Yeah.
So here this is. It's a very typical. I remember, this is one of those things where life is funny. These things, were very, very period driven, 20s and 30s into the 40s and even early 50s. Then the design changed. Then they went to, you couldn't give them away. They'd sell at auction for $1 or $2. Then about 5 or 10 years ago, they started to sell for in the $25 to $40 range, and now some of them get up into the $60 and $70 range because people want to buy them. Because you can't get a lamp like this today easily in a store. And this one has a real nice base on it. See it there with what looks like a little piece of white marble or something.
Yeah.
But the fun thing was the woman sends this to us, and she says, "Oh, by the way, there's a hole in the base, right? You have a picture with the base with a hole in it. There you go." And she says, "I guess the lamp lit up from the bottom, right?" Well, the most obvious thing would have been to do is lift up the lamp and see if there's a fixture on the bottom to put a light bulb in. The answer would have been no, right?
Yeah.
So what's the hole for?
What's the hole for?
Right. The cord comes out from under the lamp. You can see the lamp's up on feet, so the cord just comes out from underneath.
Yeah.
Well, it's the blooming on-off switch on the floor.
Oh, is there a pedal?
No. No. It's a little round knobby thingy that you turn for crying out loud.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I thought it was a hole. Is it a hole there?
It's a hole. No, you turn the lamp off and on up at the top, right?
Right. Yes.
But you could also turn it off on the floor.
Okay, so it's missing that piece.
Yes, it's missing it. That is correct.
Got it.
This is another one of those Rinker theories we don't often talk about. But it's a very interesting. It's called God did not put a hole in anything, man does. And so when you see a hole, you better have a reason for it being there, right?
Yes.
Now here, once again, comes to the why I don't quit the antique business, because how many people could look at that and say, "Oh, I know what that was for." And the reason I know what that's for is I used to bend over and turn a darn lamp off on the floor. Okay. So here it is. So you did not research this lamp on WorthPoint, I gather?
I did not, but we can if you want.
Real quickly. Yes, 1930s floor lamp. Oh, and then it had, well, now wait a minute. No, go back to it has a plug on it. And you look at that plug, and that plug says 30s. Those wires come out, but it has paint on the plug. And she said, the person says, "Well, what does that mean?" I have no idea. But who doesn't want a paint peeler plug?
Well,
that may mean that if you didn't put the cardboard at the end of the plug, it would peel the paint off the wall from the short.
Yep.
Or something.
All right. So 1930s floor lamp.
Floor lamp. Yeah. Okay. There you go. You should be able to get a couple things that look not unlike this one. And again, these had period shades, but most of them were replaced over the years. So as long as you have the yoke at the top and something to there, you're in good shape. And there's plenty of yokes you can buy and all the rest of that type. Well, that
all right. So,
well, no, there's some.
There's some.
And yeah, but let's keep. You have best match, right? We're not doing very well with best match.
No, it's sales date.
No. Let's get best match. I would imagine you would see a lot of these on eBay and some of the rest of the places because they don't get documented. Oh, there's one. Look at that.
It's a spectacular one.
Oh, wait a minute. It's almost like the one we have. And what is that? What does the caption say?
It's spectacular.
Spectacular. Art Deco floor lamp. There is nothing Art Deco about that blooming floor lamp whatsoever. But it just goes to show. And what did it sell for? $10.
$10.
$10
a few months ago.
It's better than the no bucks, right?
Yep.
Let's keep going. We should do better than that, I would think. Even though it is as spectacular as it was. All right, let's see where else we're going here. You know what? Oh, there's one there, 1930s vintage Art Deco green glass floor. So these people must be picking. This is one of the things that's such a problem in the antiques. What? That one sold for $120, man, back in 2013. But that's, this is the problem with bad information in our business. Once it gets into the system, it never quits. People pick it up and pass it on. And I mean, I understand Art Deco is a contrast between dark and light. And so you can say, well, it's got a white base and a metal thing, and that's contrasty. That's not Art Deco. This is standard lamps designed to fit the Colonial Revival furniture stuff. Okay. But that $120 price really is to some extent there. We just ignore the phone. That's my wife calling to tell me she's on her way home. Who probably forgot I was doing the radio show night. She'll.
But we are on a different night tonight.
We are on a different night tonight. That's right. Anyway, but did you find anything more? Do you find any other additional lamps there? Well, there's a lot with that base there, though, right? Well, there's one for $89, right?
Yeah, it's a little.
Well, but here's the thing: we're not talking $10. Well, we are talking $10 jokers at the one that they showed, but you're talking a good average price of $25 to $40. Now, this woman paid $14 for hers. Okay, but now the problem is she's going to have to buy a shade, and here you can see. Here, we're just going to ignore the calls. Okay. For a couple.
So this one.
Yeah.
Okay. And here, disregard the candle-like
right
bulbs here, but in our lamp itself.
Well, it has those. It has those.
So it looks like it's the glass. The glass
piece at the top is missing. And those lamps did have those bulbs on them as well, right? Okay, so I mean, this is, and you can get replacement pieces for those with no problem whatsoever. But then, but on top of that white opaque glass top sat a table lamp. It was one of those table lamps that had, or shades, not a table lamp, set a shade that had that center circle with a piece that came out, and then it had like notches to fit over on the three pieces that came out to fit over the
right.
Yeah.
So you're saying that the glass shade here is not original?
It's not. Well, no, it can be original, but on top of that sat another shade.
Oh, on top of it. I see. Okay.
Yeah. In other words, well, see, this is the problem about, again, being as old as I am. I can remember these things, but they had folded linen shades and other type of shades on top of them. And then, but they didn't have a finial necessary, but inside where it was three wires that came together in a circle, and finally they had it wasn't just a straight wire, it had a little bend that fit like a U that would fit down on top of that white bowl to hold it in place.
Yeah.
All right. But anyway, so the next time you junk one of these things and say this is crap and you put it out of the garbage, just remember that it's at least $10 worth of crap and good chance that it's worth $40. Oh, there you can see almost one of those like lamp shades. Okay. Mesh Art Deco floral lampshade.
Well, this is the only picture, but the thing sold for $510.
What? But that's the only picture?
That's the only picture.
Oh, you know what it was? It was one of those 1920s shades with the beadwork and the mesh down the side. I'm sure. Who knows?
Okay.
Yeah, I have a lot of faith to pay $510 based on that picture, I'll tell you, right?
Right.
Well, anyway, there we go. And now I have to return 2 phone calls, and we've done our half hour. So I'm going to say goodbye because I go, oh, yes. We'd love to hear from you. And we would. What would you like us to talk about? Do you have a subject you'd like us to talk about? Is there something we can do for you? Or do you have an object you'd like to have us pontificate. Wait a minute. Didn't we get an object sent to us this week we didn't do, come to think of it? Oh, I can't remember. I thought Amy sent us something.
Oh, she might have. So we'll have that. We'll do that one next week.
We will, or we'll get shot. All right.
Yeah.
Anyway, but if you would like to communicate with us, go to community@worthpoint.com. Community@worthpoint.com. That's how you get a hold of me. If you have something comments you want to share, or if you have something you'd like us to talk about, or you have an object you want us to talk about, send it there and we will finally get to it, as long as my memory is such that I remember to do it. In fact, you know what I'm going to do? I am going to make a note right now before I forget. WorthPoint question, right?
Yeah.
I'm Amy. Ooh. Probably listening tonight now. I'll get heck. But anyway, enough of all of that. We will find it, and whatever it was, we will talk about it next week.
That's right. We will. We promise.
And more other inane stuff as well. All right, my friend.
Yeah.
I have only one way to go. End this show is go Yankees. What can we tell you?
All right. Okay, so next week we'll be back on Wednesday night.
Yes, we will.
Right? All right. So until then, we'll say good night, Harry.
Good night, sir.
Good night.